Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a case that is literally going to mess with your head. We're talking about perfectly convincing evidence, the exact kind that puts people behind bars for years, that turns out to be entirely fabricated. We're going to see just how terrifyingly easy it is to manipulate the human brain, and how one little kid's crystal clear memory sent an innocent guy straight to prison.
So, how exactly can a perfect memory be a complete lie? It's a chilling question, isn't it? But it sits right at the core of our explainer today. It's the key that unlocks the murder of Daniel Harris, and honestly, it pretty much unravels everything we think we know about our own minds. We all love to trust our memories, right? But as we're about to see, that trust can be dangerously misplaced.
Section 1. A perfect testimony. Picture this. It's exactly 9:38 p.m. on a totally normal night when a frantic, trembling voice calls emergency dispatch to report a murder. Police rush to a house on the west side of town, and they find 42-year-old accountant Daniel Harris bludgeoned to death in his downstairs study. But here is where it gets weird. There are absolutely zero signs of forced entry. I mean, the windows are locked tight from the inside, and the only other person in the whole house? Daniel's 8-year-old son, Lucas. When the cops ask little Lucas if he heard anything, he says yes. He heard his dad arguing, a loud crash, and then he actually saw the man.
Now, notice how incredibly, impossibly precise an 8-year-old's memory seems here. This is sensory stacking at its absolute finest. Lucas doesn't just say he saw a scary guy. No, he calmly describes a tall man in a black jacket. He points out his hair, his beard, the exact color of his shoes. He even mentions an old scar right over the right eyebrow and a silver ring on the guy's left hand. To investigators, getting this level of detail from a kid, that's basically striking gold.
And you can see exactly why the police made an arrest almost immediately. Lucas's description? It was a dead ringer for a man named Michael Grant. Now, Michael was Daniel's business partner, and crucially, they had been in this really bitter financial dispute for months. Michael owned a black jacket, he had an old scar over his right eyebrow, and yep, he wore a silver ring. Even though Michael swore up and down he had nothing to do with it, that child's absolute confidence was the ultimate weapon against him in court.
Plus, the physical evidence seemed to totally back up the kid's story. Michael's fingerprints were in the study, naturally from previous visits, and police found a suspicious metal rod in his trunk that perfectly matched the murder weapon. So, Michael gets convicted and goes to prison. And just like that, the years start slipping away. 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, eventually 9 whole years pass. Lucas grows up, haunted every single day by the vivid memory of the killer's face. He's now 17 years old.
Section 2. Science and illusion of memory.
So, jump forward 9 years. Our now 17-year-old Lucas is sitting in his high school psychology class, and the topic of the day? How human memory actually works. The teacher drops this crucial fact. Human memory is not like a video camera. It's incredibly malleable. Every time we recall an event, our brains are basically reconstructing it from scratch, and during that process, it's super easy for the memory to get overwritten or contaminated by new information. For Lucas just sitting there at his desk, those words trigger this sickening wave of realization.
He rushes home and does something he hasn't done in almost a decade. He digs up old photographs and the actual architectural blueprint of his childhood house. And boom, he discovers a physical impossibility. Looking at the layout, his childhood bedroom window had zero, and I mean zero, visibility into that downstairs study. It was physically impossible for him to have seen the killer's face from where he was standing. The single memory that had defined his entire life, geographically impossible.
Section 3. Truth behind the fabricated story. Driven by this terrifying realization that his own brain betrayed him, Lucas starts digging into the 9-year-old case files to figure out where this manipulated memory came from. Just look at the dramatic contrast we found. On the one hand, you've got your typical 8-year-old vocabulary, but then you look at Lucas's official police transcript. It says, the witness observed an old scar approximately 2 centimeters long over the right eyebrow. I mean, come on, no 8-year-old talks like that. They don't use clinical terms like approximately 2 centimeters. This was massive proof to Lucas that his statement wasn't just his memory, it was heavily doctored and coached by the adults in the room.
Digging deeper, Lucas uncovers a really shocking detail about his assigned police psychologist, Dr. Helen Moore. He finds this old archive footage of a press conference where Dr. Moore confidently tells the media that child's memory is crystal clear. But when Lucas checks the dates, oh man, Dr. Moore had paraded the suspect's photo to the media and directly to Lucas before he even gave his official descriptive statement. She had literally contaminated the crime scene of his mind.
When we break down the fragmented 45-minute interrogation tape from the day before his testimony, we can actually see the exact methodical steps of memory implantation. It's wild. Dr. Moore asks, "Was it a black jacket?" The kid tentatively says, "Maybe." Then she pushes, "A scar over the eyebrow?" A long pause, and then the child says, "Yes." Finally, she just straight up shows him Michael's photo. By spoon-feeding him these details one by one, using leading questions, she was constructing a totally false reality inside a vulnerable kid's developing brain.
Section 4. Who was the real killer?
Which brings us to a massive revelation. If Lucas never actually saw the killer, and if Michael Grant was framed by this fabricated memory, well, who actually murdered Daniel Harris? Lucas looks back at the forensic data. Now, with 9 years of tech advancements, upgraded forensics reveal a critical flaw in the original case. Daniel wasn't killed between 9:30 and 9:50 p.m. as originally thought. The new time of death is firmly pinned at 9:05 p.m. That means the loud argument Lucas heard from his bedroom at 9:38 completely staged. It happened after his father was already dead.
So, how do you stage an argument with a dead guy? The investigation pivots sharply to the home's security system. It turns out, a week prior to the murder, a technician came to repair the house's old voice-activated intercom. And guess who that technician was? David Harris, Daniel's own younger brother and Lucas's uncle. He had all the technical access needed to stage an audio argument through the intercom, perfectly giving himself a timeline alibi.
And as you might expect, David's original alibi absolutely crumbles under modern scrutiny. Back then, he claimed he was out of town on the night of the murder.
But historical cell tower data?
Yeah, it tells a vastly different story. David's phone was pinging right off the tower closest to the crime scene exactly when the murder went down.
But why would a brother do something like this? Well, it always comes down to motive. Financial records revealed that just a week before his death, Daniel figured out David was secretly embezzling massive amounts of company money into a private account. Daniel was going to go to the cops. So to hide the theft, David killed his own brother, staged the intercom argument, planted the metal rod in the trunk, and actually paid off Dr. Moore to deliberately implant the memory of the innocent business partner into his nephew's mind. Absolutely diabolical.
Section 5. Tragic consequences of false memory. Armed with this undeniable mountain of evidence, the cell data, the bank records, and that bedroom blueprint proving Lucas couldn't have seen the study, authorities finally move in. David Harris is arrested for murder. And faced with all this evidence, the corrupt psychologist Dr. Moore folds. She confesses to manipulating the kid's testimony for cash. The courts reopen the case, and after 9 stolen years in a prison cell for a crime he didn't commit, Michael Grant is exonerated. He walks out of that courthouse a completely free man, and waiting for him outside is a now 17-year-old Lucas who tearfully confronts the guy his child mind helped lock away, just endlessly apologizing.
Michael just stands there looking at this broken teenager and delivers a truly haunting yet incredibly graceful response. He tells Lucas, "You were 8 years old. You weren't taught the truth." He completely shifts the blame away from the guilt-ridden boy, telling him, "My life was ruined by those who used your memory." It is such a powerful reminder. The weapon wasn't the child. The weapon was the corrupt adults who exploited a developing brain. Which leaves us with this final, deeply provocative thought. We all rely on our memories to tell us who we are and what's real, right? But after seeing how easily a lie can be planted, watered, and grown into absolute certainty, you kind of have to ask yourself, how much of your own reality, your own most vivid memories, are genuinely yours? And how many are just well-crafted illusions you've been conditioned to believe? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we unravel more of the world's most complex stories.